Since this is January, people's minds are full of New Year resolutions. This is the time of the year where productive and growth-minded people set new goals and focus on them. Now, a lot of people, successful people and successful books, like to crap on New Year resolutions, thinking that it is a recipe for failure. But I don't think that's true. We humans divide our lives in days, months, and years. So every new chapter or resolution must start from one of these new divisions. There is nothing wrong in having a resolution on 1st January. But once you're past this, right around this time, middle or end of January, people start giving up on their goals because of laziness, procrastination, or just because the goal isn't clearly defined. Your why is not strong enough to kick your butt and get you to take action. It's also because you're inclined to write a long list of things to achieve, which is a big no-no. And on top, your deadline is too far in the future. You are giving yourself ample time to screw up and end up saying to yourself, I still have so much time, I'll start tomorrow. So now, why does that happen? What's wrong with us? Is it just as simple as certain people are bound to be successful, whereas some of us are going to have mediocre lives with no major accomplishments? Well, I don't think so. I mean, I consider myself a very average person, but if I look back a couple of years, I can write down achievements I have had professionally, personally, financially, emotionally, mental clarity-wise, in every sense. So clearly it is possible. That's why in this video, I want to talk about 3 things that are going to help you in achieving your goals, no matter how big or small they are. Goals versus systems. So first of all, what are goals versus systems? Examples of goals are you want to lose 25 pounds, you want to become an entrepreneur and build a $1 million company, or you are a coach who wants to win the next championship. Goals are very important. They are definitely the starting point. It shows you in what direction you should be heading. But that's it. That's the end of it. And that's because James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, puts it as winners and losers have the same goals. Everybody who's participating wants to win. So what differentiates the winners versus the losers? And that's where systems come in. Focus on your systems. But what does that even mean? So let's go back to the first goal. I want to lose 25 pounds. So a typical line would be, I want to work out more and eat better. But the system would be, I'm going to work out blank number of times at blank 100 hours. As an example, that would be, I'm going to work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. You see what I did there? Instead of saying I'm going to work out more, you need to define the specifics. You decide the number of times you are going to do it. You decide that hour that you are going to do it. You can even go as far as saying, I'm going to work out at 6 a.m. in my basement. So the point is, the more specific you make it, the more real it gets. And there are other techniques that you use to stick to your systems. For example, having an accountability partner. This partner is going to make sure that you show up on time on the days that you have defined. Another technique that you can use is called an if-then statement, where you pair something that you want to do with something that you need to do. For example, I love having breakfast first thing in the morning, but I need to work out. So I set it up in my head that if I work out, only then I get to have my breakfast. My goodness, just talking about this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, my mind is rushing 100 miles an hour right now just to relay all the information. It has so many details and so many actionable items. I would highly recommend anybody to read it. Seriously, it's going to change your life. We can take another example. Let's say you are a coach who doesn't focus on the goals of winning a championship, but focuses on how your team trains every single day. The goal in any sport is to win that championship with the best score. So clearly that doesn't separate you from the losers. But it would be ridiculous to stare at the scoreboard the entire game, right? So what do you do instead? You make sure that your players are showing up for practice every day. You make sure that they are focusing on the muscles that are off balance. You see where I'm going with this? You need to decide your goal. That goal is going to give you your direction. That's it. Now you need to break down these goals into tiny steps. These steps become your system. Now you focus on your system daily. And that leads me to the next step. Principles versus feelings. I was listening to my biggest man crush, Tom Bilyeu. He's the founder of Quest Nutrition, which is the second largest growing company in the US in 2014, and the founder of Impact Theory. I would highly recommend his YouTube channel and his podcasts. In one of his videos, he talks about his deadlines, his principles. He was talking about intermittent fasting and how he has been doing it consistently for years and years. But there are days when he has to go meet up his friend, colleague, client, co-worker, anybody for brunch. Now let's say his eating window starts at 11 a.m. but the food arrives at 10:55 a.m. He would wait for those 5 minutes before having his first bite. He calls it his bright lines. These bright lines are the borders within which he has to stay. Those 5 minutes are not going to make or break his progress, right? But why would he give up? It's only a matter of 5 minutes. Those are his principles, his bright lines. This is just an example. Let's say you have decided that you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. But at 5:15, if you are pressing the snooze button, you are letting your feelings take over your principles. If you decide that you are going to be in your deep work state between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., but at 7:30 you are mindlessly scrolling on your phone, you are outside your principles. You are outside those bright lines. These principles or bright lines actually help answer a lot of questions. For example, if you're wondering if you're procrastinating just out of habit or is it a mild symptom of anxiety, these principles will be able to answer that for you. More often than not, these crappy feelings are actually associated with you not being able to stay in your bright lines, which in turn causes you to fail to stick to your systems, and that in turn causes you to not meet your goals. So you see the chain reaction there? Try being in your bright lines, stick to your principles, and do not cave into your feelings. Delay that gratification. And that brings me to the last point I want to talk about, which is why do people fail after the first few weeks? And that's because you are putting your target of the goal much later in the future. So what's the answer there? You look at each 12-week period as a full year. And that means that your every week is going to be a month. See, the reason why this is more beneficial than a regular 52-week timeline is because when you have so much time, you are bound to slack off. You would think that just by giving up a few days or a few weeks, you are not going to break your progress because you still have so much time until the next New Year's Eve. As a procrastinator myself, I know that I tend to put off my work until the very end. But there is no consistency there. You will be wasting a lot of time which could actually be spent towards other goals. When you intentionally set only 12-week timeline, you have absolutely no time to slack off. When you look at each week as a month, just imagine how important each day becomes. When your deadline is much closer, you are less likely to become complacent. There is a sense of urgency there. I got this idea from this book, 12-Week Period, by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. There are many free and paid templates out there of how do you set goals for 3 months, break down those goals into systems, and even further break them down to daily actionable items. Ditch the 12-month calendar and strip it down to 12 weeks. Every month is condensed into a week and every week is condensed into a single day. Just imagine getting a week's worth of progress every single day. That doesn't mean that you are going to be working that much harder every single day. It just means that you are going to be focusing on the crucial items that are going to take you to the 12-week goal. That's why it's very important that each action is critical to your target. So critical that if you miss any of these actions, it is impossible to reach your 12-week target. I really think everybody should read this book, but the gist of it is just this. It starts with a vision, and I mean an actual vision board, where you draw out every single thing that you want with your life, professionally, financially, personally, relationship-wise, no matter what. This vision board becomes your why. Good, now you have your vision board. Take out one of these goals and then see how much progress realistically you can have in a 12-week timeline. Now it's time to break the 12 weeks into every week and every day's action. Alright, now that all the planning is done, now it's time to take the actions on a daily, weekly basis and keep a scorecard. But remember that results lag actions, and often by several weeks. If two people are selling the same product, the person who focuses on only the sales made, he's quickly going to lose his enthusiasm if he doesn't meet his targets. But the person who only focuses on the execution and not the results is going to win ultimately, because he is learning every single thing by every action that he takes. Now going back to keeping score, let's say if you have 5 items listed out on a weekly basis, try to aim for 80 to 85%. If you are meeting about 65 to 70%, it should raise an alarm that your planning, your actions need adjusting. I have set myself some non-negotiables and I try to hit about 80 to 85% of them. Obviously, I don't win every time. There are going to be victories, there are going to be losses. So just be kind to yourself. If you fail, you fail. It just means that your plan needs adjusting. You know what? In some cases, actually, that negativity should stick around with you about 20% of the time. That negativity is going to kick your butt to take some action. If you hit a roadblock, that's fine. Go waste some time, procrastinate, get angry with yourself. This sucks. But right before this anger creeps towards anxiety or depression state, push yourself to take the next positive step. And for God's sake, do not wait for the next Monday. See, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I'm not even saying that if you follow these 3 things, you will see greatness. Obviously, you're going to see bad, crappy days. But that's the reality of movement. Movement creates friction. Obviously, you're going to see hardship. But there lies beauty in this movement. When movement is done enough times, it creates momentum. This momentum creates consistency, and this consistency actually creates a new you. But above everything else, remember that nothing beats action.